And second, I'll be
cockroach.
better make this show last. No hurry to, be a cockroach. Let's stay here for a little while. Don't want to be a cockroach. Apparently, they have lots of issues, like being stamped upon. Which is the same thing as a newsman. I mean, they're not that different.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Good morning, you're watching News 9. I'm Karthik Malhotra. The big story that we're tracking for you this morning, the 8th Pay Commission could become a reality as soon as the 1st of Jan. But is there something that could snap? We'll have a special conversation on the show on that. And also on the show, GIFT Nifty indicates a positive start for the Indian markets. Will Nifty 50 reclaim those 26,000 levels today? We'll keep an eye on that with Avinash Gorashkar. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. First up, the headlines.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा के संग त्योहार की उमंग.
The Union Cabinet has approved the terms of reference for the 8th Central Pay Commission to revise pay and pensions for nearly 50 lakh central government employees as well as 69 lakh pensioners across the country. India and the European Union make progress on free trade agreement as Brussels talks narrow gaps. EU delegation to visit New Delhi next week to finalise tariff negotiations ahead of the December deadline. India is in talks with the United States to extend the sanctions waiver for Iran's Chabahar port, a key trade and connectivity hub linking Afghanistan, Central Asia and Russia. The Reserve Bank of India's gold reserves rise by 25.5 metric tons to 880 tons in a year as share in forex reserves climbs to almost 14%, even as total reserves dip slightly to $700 billion. Sebi proposes sweeping overhaul of mutual fund rules, redefines expense ratio and slashes brokerage limits to enhance transparency and cut investor costs. Goods and Services Tax Network or GSTN introduces new pending option for credit notes and adds Table 6A1 in GSTR 9 to improve ITC reconciliation, reduce disputes and enhance accuracy in annual GST returns. The Director General of Civil Aviation is reviewing global safety norms after Indigo power bank fire incident. May introduce restrictions on use of power banks on board flights, but rules out a complete ban. In news from the world of technology, OpenAI offers free 1-year ChatGPT Go access for Indian users ahead of the Bengaluru Dev Day exchange, highlighting India's growing role in global AI adoption. And after exiting real money gaming, Dream 11 plans major pivot into stockbroking with new Dream Money wealth management arm to tap its 260 million users and take on Zerodha, Angel One and grow amid India's retail investor boom.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा के संग त्योहार की उमंग.
The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has approved the terms of reference for the 8th Central Pay Commission, a move that directly impacts positively nearly 50 lakh central government employees and as many as 69 lakh pensioners across the country. The Pay Commission, which serves as a key mechanism for revising salaries, allowances and pensions of government staff, will now begin its work as a temporary body, expected to submit its recommendations within 18 months of its formation. According to the government, the commission will have one chairperson, one part-time member and one member secretary, and may also submit initial interim reports if needed. Now, when framing its recommendations, the 8th Pay Commission will take into account several critical factors. These include the overall economic conditions, the need for fiscal prudence, and ensuring adequate resources for welfare and development expenditure. It will also consider the impact of non-contributory pension schemes and how its proposals could affect state government finances, as many states often adopt Central Pay Commission recommendations with some modifications. Now remember, these commissions are periodically set up to review and revise the pay structure, retirement benefits and service conditions of central government employees. Typically, such revisions happen once every 10 years. Now, following this pattern, the 8th Central Pay Commission's recommendations, once approved, are expected to take effect from the 1st of January 2026. Listen to what Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said.
आज साथियों, सबसे पहले बड़ा फैसला लिया गया 8th पे कमीशन को आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अप्रूव किया। 8th पे कमीशन का कॉम्पोजिशन और उसमें क्या टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस रहेंगे, कितना टाइम पीरियड रहेगा, वो सारा आज अप्रूवल हुआ और ये बहुत बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण फैसला है। आपको पता है कि अभी हाल ही में जनवरी में ही इन प्रिंसिपल अप्रूवल हुआ था कि किस तरह से 8th पे कमीशन का फॉर्मेशन किया जाए और इतने कम समय में 8th सेंट्रल पे कमीशन का गठन भी कर दिया गया। इसके लिए काफी बड़ा कंसल्टेशन होता है। कई मंत्रालय जिनमें बड़ी संख्या में सरकारी कर्मचारी हैं सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के, डिफेंस हो गया, होम हो गया, रेलवे हो गया, और डीओपीटी के माध्यम से जो जॉइंट कंसल्टेटिव मैकेनिज्म है सभी यूनियंस का, सभी फेडरेशंस का, उस जेसीएम के साथ भी डिटेल्ड कंसल्टेशन होता है।
And joining me on the show to give a perspective on this developing story, Subhash Chandra Garg, former Finance Secretary. Mr. Garg, good morning. Thank you for your time. Now, the 8th Pay Commission is subject to, of course, the economic environment as well as the government's ability to push ahead with the welfare of government employees. Anything that sticks out for you that could prevent the revised Pay Commission from actually going through, given what's happening in the world as well as in terms of corporate India's performance?
See, at this moment, the terms of reference have not been spelt out clearly. The pay commissions typically recommend the new pay allowances and other benefits for 6 categories of employees, including central government employees, defense employees, regulatory, Indian Audit Account Service, etc. So those are mentioned in the terms of reference. Those have not been disclosed as yet. The second thing which struck me was that the PIB release which came yesterday mentions the 5 factors or the boundary lines or the caveats kind of thing which the pay commission would need to take into account. All of them are exact repeat of the 7th Finance Commission. Pay Commission.
All right.
Only one has been changed. The 7th Pay Commission had the global factors to be taken into account. That has been replaced by
economic conditions.
In fact, no, economic conditions was there earlier.
Okay.
The only one which has been replaced is the impact of the non-contributory pension schemes.
All right.
That's the only one which has been replaced. The rest is exact repeat, word to word.
Okay.
So there is nothing really new in this, and you can't even decipher. Because one of the issues which was very important, how would the 8th Finance Commission deal with the pensioners? Post the Supreme Court judgment and the amendment in the rules which the government brought through the finance bill.
Right.
It has not been mentioned whether the Pay Commission will cover pensioners, in which way they will cover, whether these benefits, etc. So I think we'll have to wait for the detailed notification which will have the terms of reference as well as the composition members. What was announced was the announcement by the minister,
That's right.
not as part of the notification. So we'll need to see this. The other factor which strikes very majorly is that the government announced the constitution in January. It's more than 9 months now, which have gone.
Yeah.
And it has now come just before Bihar election.
Right.
Another next step. What did the government take 9 months for is absolutely ununderstandable. As you see from the boundary conditions, nothing has changed except one. I don't expect the main terms of reference, except probably for the pensioners, to change anything. So why 9 months have been wasted? We're so close to now, 1st of January, this by itself that 18 months are being given, it means the recommendations would be implemented only sometime in 2028.
That's exactly what my next question was to you, that, how long, because this 18-month window, even it's going to begin after the constitution of the chairman and the member panel. And after that, 18 months kick in, and then it's going to go into rounds of approval. So while 1st Jan 2026 makes for a good headline, it's eventually going to be arrears. But how long before it gets implemented, sir?
I think the next step to watch is when the notification detailing the terms of reference and the member's appointment comes.
Right.
I hope it comes into next 1 week or so, though this is a clear violation of the Model Code of Conduct. But these days, the Model Code of Conduct doesn't matter. So I expect this to come in next 1 week.
Yeah.
But if it gets delayed, like it has happened for 9 months, the next date to watch is 1st January 2026.
Right.
Whether the notification comes before that date.
Right.
Now, from that date onwards, you'll have to count 18 months minimum.
Right.
It will take more. If you look at the Finance Commission is still working. It has not given, it has sought extension. Pay commissions also seek usually the extensions. So you can at best expect the pay commission report to be available sometime from July 2027 to December 2027, and therefore somewhere in the middle of 2028 you would see the pay commission implemented. By the way, that would be closer to the next elections.
Exactly.
So if you associate these announcements with the election cycle, it might suit the purpose of the ruling party.
All right, let's just keep politics out of it for a moment, Mr. Garg, because obviously that is the timing is crucial and also suspect. But if we were to keep politics aside, I think the question on top of every central government employee as well as the pensioners would be, how much more are they expected to get as part of their salary or as part of their pension? So going by past experiences, going by the inflation trends that you have witnessed over the last decade, what is going to be the total sort of in-hand increase that servicemen as well as pensioners could expect?
It's difficult to visualize, but
typically is inflation the benchmark? Is inflation and inflation correction the benchmark, or is there something else that goes into the formula?
See, different pay commissions have used different benchmarks. Some people have studied the cost of living increase. Some have taken into account per capita national income and a factor to that. Some have simply taken into account inflation and given a fitment factor of 15 to 30%. So different pay commissions have used different benchmarks and indices. We don't know what the next pay commission would use. But given the boundary conditions which have been set, I expect this to be somewhat lower in terms of increase the pay commission recommends. Right. In my judgment, that would be 15 to 30% at best. Last pay commission gave about 15%.
Right.
So it will not go lower than that.
Okay.
But it can't give very high. So as I had worked out earlier, taking into account the current inflation and one more which is due on 1st of January, I think fitment factor taking to 15 to 30% would be very close to 1.8% to on 1.8 times to 2 times.
1.8 times to 2 times. I'm sure a big smile coming on the faces of a lot of central
No,
government.
you are already at 1.6, by the way. So it's
already
not a
at
big
1.6. All right. But sure, at least a 15%, and you're saying a maximum of about 30% is the increase that one could expect. Final question, there's also the question of fiscal prudence, and that becomes all the more pertinent at a time when the private sector is rampant with job cuts. There are AI disruptions which have become pretty much the order of the day, and employment numbers overall not shoring up the way the government as well as the youth of the country would have wanted it to. So at a time like this, can the government, or rather should the government, afford a hike of this kind?
See, the hike is what the government servants have been able to get from time to time, because they constitute a very powerful constituents of the same. Our salaries in the government for class 3, class 2, if you take it, is way ahead of the private sector salaries. And on top of that, you still get it. Look at the pensionary benefits also, which are very, very generous in comparison to anywhere else. So I don't think the consideration of fiscal prudence enters into while the pay commission recommendations are processed in the government. You remember 1998 when the United Front government was there. They had improved upon massively the pay commission recommendations. So you don't know. You said politics apart, but I can see that the fiscal prudence will not be a factor into consideration of the government when it implements. Look at the GST giveaways. Look at the income tax giveaways. So I don't think this would be a factor. Fiscal prudence you can ignore for the time.
All right, it's going to be politics that's going to rule and not fiscal prudence. Thank you so much, Mr. Garg, for your input on that story. Pleasure having you here with us. Moving on now, talks between India and the European Union on the much-anticipated free trade agreement are picking up pace. Now, officials say both sides are making good progress on tariff-related issues, and an EU delegation is expected in New Delhi next week to talk out remaining differences. Now, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal was in Brussels this week to meet EU Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security Maroš Šefčovič and give fresh momentum to the discussions. After their meeting, Šefčovič said the talks were conducted in a spirit of trust and transparency, adding that both sides had made substantial progress on sensitive issues, especially industrial tariffs. He also confirmed that European Commissioner Director General for Trade, Sebi, will visit India next week to conclude the technical tariff negotiations. Mr. Piyush Goyal also echoed this optimism, saying that the three-day discussions have reduced the number of outstanding issues. He said the goal is to achieve a strong and balanced agreement that benefits businesses on both sides, supporting growth, investment, as well as job creation. The India-EU FTA negotiations, which resumed in June 2022 after an 8-year pause, cover a wide range of areas from trade in goods and services to intellectual property, sustainable development, as well as investment protection. The two sides are aiming to finalize the deal by December, following the 14th round of talks earlier this month. Here's what Minister Piyush Goyal said.
I believe the ongoing India-EU FTA negotiations has given us an opportunity to really create the framework which will help us in the long run bring our two economies closer together, integrate them into a relationship which will be a win-win for European Union and for India. The intense engagements that we've had have significantly reduced the outstanding issues between EU and India, and I must thank both teams for the significant progress made in the last 3 days. We look forward to the European Union team coming next week. Warmly welcome them, and I do look forward to meeting my good friend and brother Maroš in the next 2 or 3 weeks very soon.
And meanwhile, India is working to secure an extension on the US sanctions waiver for Iran's Chabahar port, a critical port and its regional connectivity network linking India with Afghanistan, Central Asia, as well as Eastern Russia. Now, with the current waiver that expired on Tuesday, New Delhi is in active talks with Washington to ensure continuity. The Chabahar port plays a strategic role for India, serving as a gateway for humanitarian aid as well as trade with Afghanistan, including medical supplies and ambulances sent earlier this month. Interestingly, the Taliban regime has also shown interest in using the port for its own external trade. In 2024, India signed a 10-year management pact with Iran to operate the port, strengthening its long-term presence there. The US had earlier extended the waiver until October 28th after initially setting a revocation deadline for September 29th. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan are keen to tap into Chabahar to diversify their trade routes beyond China's Belt and Road Initiative too. Now, Russia also is exploring the port for greater access to Indian and Asian markets through Central Asia. The Chabahar waiver, if extended, could be crucial for India's long-term regional trade as well as strategic outreach. Let's slip into a very short break, but coming up on the other side, Avinash Gorakshakar will be here to help us understand the market mood for the day and also what your investment strategy should be going ahead. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
विक्रम चाहे जितना भी फड़फड़ा ले ढूंढ नहीं पाएगा।
प्रिया, कैसा लगा मेरा स्टंट?
विक्रम, एक हिंट तो देते। हिंट।
बड़े आराम से।
भाई साहब, आपने भारत कनेक्ट का नाम सुना है?
एक और सोशल मीडिया ऐप।
सोशल मीडिया ऐप नहीं, वो 700 से ज्यादा ऐप्स पे बिल पेमेंट्स पॉसिबल बनाते हैं।
बढ़िया है।
आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते जरूर हैं। हम हैं भारत कनेक्ट।
Being a chef, it's my priority to deliver taste in a plate with good presentation, unique innovation. You need to explore, you need to experiment.
You observe the people, make them happy, make them feel happy, and in the end you are smiling. That's the most important thing.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9 right here on News 9. Let's bring you the mood on Dalal Street as markets have just opened a few minutes back. And as expected, it's been a green start for markets today. And of course, we have another day where Nifty 50, at least in early trade, has breached that 26,000 level. Meanwhile, Sensex also up almost 0.2% or so in trade this morning, racing towards that 84,800 odd levels. Let's see in case 85,000 can be breached by the Sensex. Meanwhile, not too much action on the small cap and mid cap space. In fact, small cap underperforming the benchmarks this morning, down about 1/3 of a percentage point. Volatility in the Indian market still hovering around the 12 levels. Let's pull up the Nifty 50 heat map and see where are the gains on Nifty really coming from this morning, as it seems that the energy pack, which was pretty much a deep red yesterday, has shot back into action. You're seeing Reliance is up about 0.65% and even ONGC is up about 1/3 of a percentage point. Meanwhile, mixed feelers on the IT pack, although marginally positive. TCS is trading absolutely flat, but HCL Tech is up about 0.5 percentage point or so. The auto sector seems to be reeling under some sort of a correction mode this morning. We'll have to figure out what's going on with Mahindra & Mahindra, which is down about more than 1%. In fact, just a little short of 1.5%. Bajaj Auto also down about 1% or so in trade. Meanwhile, the non-energy minerals are doing well. Tata Steel is up, JSW is up. You've got a good momentum really on these stocks this morning. In terms of trends, in terms of where is market headed from here, well, don't take our word for it, because we've got an expert joining us. We've got Avinash Gorakshakar, the head of research at Profit Mart Securities, with us this morning. Avinash, good morning. Great to have you back with us on the show after a while. What are you making of the sentiment on the markets right now? Is there a trend line that you can establish, given all the uncertainties still pretty much remain in the speculative zone? But is there a clear direction where markets are headed from here?
Yeah, good morning, Karthik. I think clearly, I think if you look at the sectoral kind of flavor, I think, stocks like IT, metals, they look pretty interesting. Metals, I think if you observe the moment yesterday also, I think most of the stocks were in positive territory. If you look at Vedanta, Tata Steel, Hindalco, I think we have been seeing a lot of buying interest coming in here. More importantly, metal prices have stabilized, domestic infra spending has increased, and globally, I think hopefully once the India-US tariff deal is complete, I think there's going to be a lot of inflow from foreign investors. Our sense is that already some buying has started, but on the FI side, I think we need a lot of push, despite the fact that a lot of buying happened, in the last few weeks by the domestic funds. The market seems to have consolidated around 26,000 level. Now, going forward, it's going to be the earnings push as well as the sentiment, driver. Most importantly, the Fed rate cut also is very important. I think what commentary comes out from the Fed chairman, and most importantly, how typically, the currency moves. I think all these things play a role. But net, I think it's going to be a stock-specific market. Q2 numbers have been much better than what the street had expected, and I think you would see a stronger momentum coming in from Q3 onwards.
Absolutely, with the GST cuts and with the increase in sales, I'm sure Q3 is the expectations, at least on Q3, are fairly high. But Avinash, you mentioned hopefully a trade deal with the US. The energy, the metal stocks are going to hopefully see better days even after 2 days of rally. What about the pharma space? Do you think the US agreement could also then spell some sort of good news for the pharma sector? Because I'm seeing even these stocks are in the green this morning.
Yeah, I think, companies which are largely focused on the US market, like Sun Pharma, Lupin, Torrent Pharma, Dr. Reddy's. I think, Dr. Reddy's also numbers was much better than what the street expected.
Right.
So I think net, it's going to be a good kind of a run for these companies. I think clearly, as the uncertainty starts webbing away, I think you're going to see a lot of good accumulation happening here. I think probably the October to December quarter would be a crucial quarter for these pharma companies. And I think, most of these companies which are largely US based would expect some better news flow, from the new year onwards. Possibly, a lot of deals and a lot of, collaborations and a lot of business which has got stuck up till now. Probably you could see some easing out from the month of January. So I think we keep a positive structural view here. But I think we need to have a stock specific view. And within that, Sun Pharma and Dr. Reddy's, according to us, look to be quite interesting.
All right. I want to pivot now to the auto sector, and the auto sector seems to be seeing some correction this morning. Mahindra down more than 1%. Bajaj Auto, Eicher Motors, Tata Motors, all in the red. What's going on with the auto pack?
No, I think, Karthik, this seems to be just a profit booking kind of board. If you see the kind of ground level developments. Maruti management has mentioned that on Dhanteras Day, they sold more than 1 lakh cars. Hyundai has also been very positive. So I think, these kind of corrections will happen. In fact, M&M has also said that post Navratri, sales for tractors, sales for utility vehicles have jumped in very strong double digits. So I think M&M is yet to come out with the Q3 numbers. So we'll wait for the numbers. But I think this kind of profit booking indirectly is a good opportunity. I think next 12 months, auto sector could be a good outperformer.
All right. So is this a good time to buy dips like these, corrections like these? Is this a good time for retail investors to step in and just stock up some of these stocks?
Yeah, I think within the large cap, I think we continue to be positive on companies like Bajaj Auto and Mahindra and Mahindra. Of course, Tata Motors also for investors who have a slightly longer term horizon, because the JLR and the passenger car business is listed. The commercial vehicle business will get listed sometime in November.
Right.
I think you need to take a longer term call here. But yes, in SIP mode, maybe the retail investors could start accumulating these stocks.
All right. I also want to talk about what else is happening in US. Of course, you mentioned the trade deal. You mentioned the US Fed's decision on rates, as well as the commentary coming from Jerome Powell. But also 3 of the Magnificent 7 are going to announce their results today. Is that something which is likely to have a bearing on India's IT stocks? Or do you think AI and big tech is a completely different bracket and there's absolutely going to be no influence on IT stocks?
So I think some amount of rub-off will be there, Karthik. I think we'll like to see what is the kind of commentary and what is the kind of performance, because clearly AI and machine learning, these are essentially segments which are growing rapidly even in India. the AI, kind of regulation is not going to ignore India. So I think what these companies mention, how the companies perform, is definitely going to be looked very closely. And I think, large players like Infosys, TCS have already started working on these segments. So I think, you're going to see a lot of excitement here, but I think we need to understand that in India, maybe the transformation to complete AI will take a long time. But yes, I think some rub off, from the numbers of these companies will have some impact, on the IT sector.
All right. We were, in fact, speaking during Samvad 2082, we were speaking to some other market experts as well. And one of the opinion that seemed to be echoed by all of them, Avnish, was the fact that perhaps this is the time for Indians to also participate in US stocks. Now, of course, we had seen this momentum pick up during COVID and then it sort of ebbed out. In your mind, do you think the valuations of US stocks, especially the big tech, the Magnificent Seven, the IT heavy stocks is already too high, or do you think it's okay for retail investors in India to dabble a little bit in US equities as well? Because I'm looking at the board. Nvidia, for example, is up almost 5%. Microsoft is up about 2%. And the trend line, at least as far as AI disruptions goes, is pretty clear for the big tech firms.
No, I think, my sense is that some allocation to the US markets would make sense. Not entirely, one can shift their entire Indian portfolio there. Because clearly, in the last 12 months, Karthik, the Indian equity markets have not delivered and not performed, while the US markets have delivered quite well. So to a large extent, valuations have caught up, in the US market. They're not very fair and not very cheap. They're fair to expensive. Yeah. So I think some amount of allocation can be made, but I think the Indian market now looks pretty well positioned. It's a beaten down market. Gold, silver have also started cooling off. A lot of commodity money could also get, transformed into equity flows. And I think we are all waiting for the big number from the FIs, which hopefully post January, February, if these flows start in a big way, then I think the entire sentiment for the Indian equity market would change. So I think should have a small allocation to the US market, but I think keep invested in the India story also.
All right, stay invested in the India story, but some allocation to the US stocks for not heard. That's the view coming in from Avinash Gorakshakar. Avinash, thank you so much. As always, pleasure having you here with us on News 9. And moving on now, India's gold reserves are shining brighter as the Reserve Bank of India's gold holdings have increased by as much as almost 25.5 metric tons over the past 1 year, rising from about 855 tons in September 2024 to 880 tons by September 2025. This according to RBI's latest report on foreign exchange reserves. Out of the total 576 tons which are held domestically, about 290 tons are stored with the Bank of England and the Bank of International Settlements, and around 14 tons in gold deposits. In value terms, gold's share in India's total forex reserves has climbed from 11.7% in March to nearly 14% in September 2025. However, overall forex exchange reserves slightly dipped to $700 billion compared to $706 billion a year earlier. The RBI said these reserves are maintained mainly in US dollars and euros and managed across multiple asset classes for safety, liquidity and optimal returns. And if you've got an old phone and the battery runs out, this could be little bad news for you. Aviation regulator DGCA, or the Director General of Civil Aviation, may put in place certain restrictions on the use of power banks on board flights after studying global practices. In the wake of the incident of a passenger's power bank catching fire on board an Indigo flight on October 19th, the DGCA has been looking into the use of power banks on board flights. The official told PTI that some restrictions might be brought in, but there are no plans to ban the use of power banks altogether. The global practices are being looked at, and after that, a decision will be taken according to this official. Now, on October 19th, a passenger's power bank caught fire on board a Dimapur-bound Indigo plane while taxiing at the Delhi airport, and the fire was extinguished by the cabin crew. There are strict norms in place for carrying electronic goods, especially those with lithium batteries on board an aircraft already. Remember, earlier this month, there was an incident where a lithium battery kept in the overhead compartment of an Air China aircraft caught fire. The aircraft was operating from Hangzhou to Seoul, as per reports. And moving to the world of artificial intelligence, now in a big move to deepen its engagement with India's fast-growing AI community, OpenAI has announced that ChatGPT Go will be free for 1 full year for any Indian users signing up from November 4th. The announcement comes ahead of the company's first ever Dev Day exchange in Bengaluru, highlighting India's growing importance as one of ChatGPT's largest markets globally. ChatGPT Go, launched earlier this year, is a mid-tier plan powered by GPT-5, offering higher message limits, more daily image generations, and extended memory for more personalized conversations, all at an affordable price and now tentatively going free. The plan's India launch in August saw a surge in paid subscriptions, with users ranging from students to professionals and developers rapidly embracing AI tools for creativity, productivity, as well as research. And we will slip into a short break, but before that, some of the global headlines that we are following for you this morning. US President Donald Trump departs for South Korea for key meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, says he's confident trade disputes with China, including tariffs tied to fentanyl, will see progress this week. After Israeli airstrikes hit Hamas sites yet again, Donald Trump insists nothing is going to jeopardize the Gaza ceasefire, calling it a turning point towards peace despite renewed tensions on the ground. 3 American firms joined forces with the Trump administration to build a new generation of nuclear reactors worth $80 billion across the US. Stocks across Asia jump in step with record Wall Street highs as investor confidence in artificial intelligence and coming interest rate cuts in the US potentially reaches fever pitch. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang unveils massive expansion plan, says the company now holds $500 billion in chip bookings amid unprecedented demand from US defense industry. World's second largest chipmaker, South Korea's SK Hynix, posts a record 62% surge in quarterly profit as soaring demand for AI memory devices drives the semiconductor rebound. American e-commerce giant Amazon begins major layoffs, with now 14,000 job cuts, shifting investment towards AI automation as part of a plan that could ultimately cut up to 30,000 positions. Apple becomes the world's third company to cross the $4 trillion market valuation as robust demand for new iPhones offsets investor concerns about its AI strategy. And NASA's experimental Sonic Thump aircraft completes its maiden flight in California, marking a key milestone towards the return of overland supersonic travel. All these stories on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
That goat is long dead, but Cyrus Bhai are still alive. Game show. This is God's office calling. You're not a VIP, so God won't speak directly, but here's the deal. You have been granted a second chance with a brand new news show.
Thank you very much. Just one thing. You said 2 lives, 2 more lives. So I'll first be a newsman who wins awards, and second I'll be
Cockroach.
better make this show last. No hurry to, be a cockroach. Let's stay here for a little while. Don't want to be a cockroach. Apparently, they have lots of issues, like being stamped upon. Which is the same thing as a newsman. I mean, they're not that different.
News 9, the This is Morning Brief at 9. All to all the global stories that we're following for you. Let's begin with all the action in South Korea. US President Donald Trump has landed in South Korea, where a high-stakes meeting with China's President Xi Jinping on Thursday could deliver a truce in the bruising US-China trade war. Now, this marks the third leg of Donald Trump's Asia tour after being praised at a regional summit in Malaysia and hailed as a peacemaker by Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. All eyes now turn to the South Korean city of Busan, where Trump and Xi Jinping will meet on the sidelines of the APEC summit, marking their first sit-down in 6 years. Officials from both sides say a framework for a deal is ready, but it will be up to Trump and Xi Jinping to decide whether to halt tariffs, calm global markets, and ease pressure on supply chains already under strain from months of escalation. A breakthrough on Thursday could reshape trade flows across Asia and give investors a badly needed signal of stability. Meanwhile, Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Chia-lung says ties with the United States remain stable with close cooperation between the two sides. Now, these remarks come just a day before US President Donald Trump meets China's Xi Jinping in South Korea. Since returning to office, Donald Trump has shifted tone on Taiwan as he seeks a trade breakthrough with Beijing. Trump claims Xi Jinping privately assured him there will be no Chinese invasion of Taiwan while he is in the White House, but Washington is yet to approve any new arms sales to Taipei. That's fueling concern in Taiwan that this week's Trump-Xi Jinping talks on the sidelines of the APEC summit could see Taipei's interests bargained away. Remember, the United States maintains no formal diplomatic ties with Taiwan, but is legally required to help the island defend itself, a long-running flashpoint in already tense US-China relations.
Our Taiwan-US relations are very stable. No matter whether on security, trade, and business and other areas, there is close cooperation. We're a member of APEC and have a representative to participate in the APEC summit.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Tuesday announced $490 billion worth of investment deals with Japan spanning nuclear energy, semiconductors, and infrastructure at a business forum in Tokyo. Major firms involved in the deal include the likes of SoftBank, Toshiba, and Toyota, signaling deeper industrial cooperation between U.S. and Japan. Earlier this year, Tokyo pledged $550 billion in strategic U.S. investments, loans, and guarantees to secure relief from Donald Trump's steep import tariffs.
Ensure the economic and national security of the United States of America. We're going to be developing energy. We're going to be developing nuclear, semiconductors, and strengthening the entire domestic supply chain. So I'd like to kick it off, right? And the first company I'd like to announce is Westinghouse, which will invest up to $100 billion in nuclear reactors to restore U.S. energy dominance. Also, $100 billion by using nuclear, the construction of SMRs, and also large-scale power equipment such as gas turbines, steam turbines, and generators.
Well, the United States is ramping up its backing for nuclear power. On Tuesday, 3 U.S. companies, Westinghouse, which you just heard Howard Lutnick talk about, as well as Cameco and Brookfield Asset Management, announced a partnership with the Trump administration to build at least $80 billion worth of new nuclear reactors across the U.S. The initiative marks one of the most aggressive investments in atomic energy in decades, aimed at boosting domestic power capacity and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Take a look.
The federal government is putting its force and money behind nuclear energy. On Tuesday, 3 companies, Westinghouse Electric, Cameco, and Brookfield Asset Management, announced a partnership with the Trump administration to build at least $80 billion worth of new nuclear reactors across the country. The plan represents one of the most ambitious investments in atomic energy in decades, underscoring President Donald Trump's energy dominance agenda focused on oil, gas, coal, and nuclear. Artificial intelligence seems to be the driving force behind these deals, as demand for power to operate massive cloud computing infrastructure increases. momentum around nuclear power has been building. Tech giants including Google, Microsoft, and Amazon have already inked deals to source power from next-generation nuclear technologies, such as fusion and small modular reactors. Tuesday's announcement follows Trump's May executive order promoting nuclear energy and targets a 5-gigawatt increase in reactor capacity by 2030. Shares of Cameco, the world's largest publicly traded uranium company, jumped more than 20% on the news.
Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang on Tuesday announced the artificial intelligence chipmaker will build 7 new supercomputers for the U.S. Department of Energy, further cementing Nvidia's dominance in the AI race. Huang also revealed the company now holds $500 billion in chip bookings as demand surges across the government as well as industry. More details in this next report.
Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang said on Tuesday that the artificial intelligence giant has won a major contract with the federal government.
Today, we're announcing that the Department of Energy is partnering with Nvidia to build 7 new AI supercomputers to advance our nation's science.
He discussed the agreement during a keynote address at a company event in Washington, D.C. The supercomputers will in part help the United States maintain and develop its nuclear weapons arsenal. They will also be used to research alternative energy sources such as nuclear fusion. Huang also said the company has $500 billion in bookings for its Blackwell and Rubin chips over the next 5 quarters.
I think we're probably the first technology company in history to have visibility into $500 billion of cumulative Blackwell and early ramps of Rubin through 2026. And as you know, 2025 is not over yet, and 2026 hasn't started. This is how much business is on the books.
Nvidia is striking deals around the world while also navigating a U.S.-China trade war that could determine which country's technology is most used around the world. Huang said Nvidia has not yet sought licenses from the U.S. government to ship its Blackwell AI processors to China.
They made it very clear that they don't want Nvidia to be there right now. And for whatever reasons, I hope that will change in the future because I think China is a very important market.
Nvidia, though, has remained in the good graces of U.S. President Donald Trump by manufacturing some of its products in the U.S. again. And Trump said the two leaders will meet this week.
We're speeding construction of AI infrastructure and bringing production of the critical chips and semiconductors back onshore. And I want to congratulate Jensen because he's been really amazing. He's an amazing guy, brilliant guy. I'm seeing him tomorrow.
The meeting comes one day before Trump meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping to discuss the economic relationship between the two countries.
And moving to Wall Street now, all 3 major U.S. stock indices closed at record highs yet again on Tuesday, lifted of course by Nvidia's shares after news of the company's supercomputer deal with the U.S. Energy Department. Investor sentiment also improved ahead of the quarterly results from several major tech companies due later this week. Take a look.
Wall Street's main indexes posted record closing highs again on Tuesday, with the Dow gaining about 0.33%, the S&P 500 adding nearly 0.25%, and the Nasdaq climbing 0.8%. Strong third-quarter results have powered the market, with earnings from S&P 500 companies estimated to have increased 10.5% from a year ago, according to LSEG data. Eric Ditton is president and managing director of the Wealth Alliance.
This is driven by earnings. We've got 3 quarters in a row of double-digit earnings. And by the way, the first 150 companies that have reported, 82% of them have beaten on revenue. You want to know when the last time that happened was? 2001. So you are just seeing incredible strength across the board. All these worries about tariffs, at least up to this point, they're generally, there are limited exceptions, but generally speaking, they are not hurting the earnings picture, and that's what the markets are reflecting.
Stocks on the move Tuesday included Nvidia, which gained 5% following news the chip powerhouse will build AI supercomputers for the U.S. Energy Department. Nvidia is also taking a $1 billion stake in Nokia, which was announced by the Finland-based networking company on Tuesday. Shares of Nokia soared almost 23% after announcing the partnership. Shares of Microsoft rose 2% after the tech giant reached a deal that allows ChatGPT maker OpenAI to restructure into a public benefit corporation, of which Microsoft will own 27%. Microsoft reports quarterly earnings on Wednesday, along with fellow Magnificent Seven megacap companies Meta Platforms and Alphabet. Also on Wednesday, the U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to announce a cut in interest rates.
One of the world's top EV makers, Tesla's U.S. sales have taken a hit amid billionaire CEO Elon Musk's polarizing political move since taking over X, formerly Twitter, in 2022. The backlash underscores just how closely the automaker's fortunes are tied to the billionaire's public persona. Here's a detailed report.
Elon Musk's polarizing political action since acquiring Twitter, now X, in 2022 cost Tesla more than 1 million EV sales in the United States. That's according to a report from the National Bureau of Economic Research. The findings highlight how Musk's actions, including his role in US President Donald Trump's administration, may have cost Tesla billions, all while benefiting rival electric car makers. The report by Yale economists said without the, quote, Musk partisan effect, Tesla's US sales would have been between 67% and 83% higher. Musk's political stance has alienated environmentally minded Democratic buyers and earlier this year sparked protests around the US and beyond. At this one in New York, demonstrators called for a boycott of the car maker and for Musk to leave his, quote, unelected role in the Trump administration. As Democratic-leaning buyers shifted away from Tesla, the report found it boosted sales of competitors' electric and hybrid vehicles by up to 22%. It underscores how deeply the electric car maker's fortunes are intertwined with the billionaire's persona.
And more details coming from the Amazon job cuts report. E-commerce giant Amazon said on Tuesday it will cut around 14,000 corporate jobs worldwide, with more reductions likely next year. The move is part of a broader plan to cut up to 30,000 jobs in months to come. The restructuring comes as the tech giant adopts more artificial intelligence tools and shifts resources towards automation.
Amazon is cutting roughly 14,000 corporate jobs in a major shakeup driven by artificial intelligence. The move, announced Tuesday, is part of a broader plan to cut up to 30,000 jobs, which Reuters first reported on Monday. The layoffs offer an early look at the broad effects AI could have on workforces. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy had warned earlier this year that AI would lead to more job cuts, especially by automating routine tasks. Impacted workers received emails early Tuesday morning informing them their jobs were being eliminated. Amazon says most will get 90 days to find new roles internally. Affected departments include devices, advertising, Prime Video, HR, and Amazon Web Services. Meanwhile, Senator Bernie Sanders is calling on Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to address concerns over automation, citing reports that up to 500,000 warehouse jobs could eventually be replaced by robots. Further insight into Amazon's strategy will likely come on Thursday when the tech giant reports third-quarter earnings. Shares of the company have risen about 3.5% this year, making it the worst performer among the Magnificent Seven group of megacap tech stocks.
Staying with the world of technology, iPhone maker Apple has crossed the $4 trillion market value threshold for the first time on Tuesday, becoming the third major tech company in the world to reach that milestone. Strong demand for the latest iPhone lineup eased investor concerns over Apple's slower progress in AI development. Take a look.
Apple flew past $4 trillion in market value for the first time on Tuesday. It became the third big tech company to hit the milestone. Strong demand for the firm's latest iPhone models calmed investor fears over its slow progress in the AI race. The stock hit an all-time high in early trading, helping it pass the $4 trillion milestone. Apple shares have gained about 13% since the new iPhone launched in early September. The company's stock had struggled earlier this year on concerns over tough competition in China. Investors were also unsure how the company would deal with the high US tariffs on Asian economies as manufacturing hubs like China and India were affected. The latest smartphones included the iPhone 17 lineup and the iPhone Air. It brought customers back globally within the first few weeks of launch. Industry data showed early sales of the iPhone 17 outperformed the previous model by 14% in the US and China. Apple is the third company to hit the $4 trillion mark after Nvidia and Microsoft. Chip giant Nvidia is currently highest with a market value of more than $4.5 trillion.
And passengers may be edging closer to supersonic travel for the first time after NASA's experimental X-59 sonic thump aircraft completed its maiden flight in California on Tuesday. Now designed to break the sound barrier without the deafening sonic boom, the X-59 flies fast enough to generate only a gentle thump instead, a breakthrough that could one day allow cities to approve supersonic flights over land. On its first hour-long flight, the plane cruised around 240 miles an hour, well below its top speed of 925 miles per hour. More aggressive tests are planned in the months ahead. NASA will use the data collected from the test flight to help develop quieter commercial supersonic aircraft, potentially changing global air travel all over again for millions of long-haul flyers. That future could just be a little closer. And with that, we will thump out of the morning brief at 9 for now. But of course, there's a supersonic break, so stay tuned. The news continues right here on News 9 soon thereafter. Thanks for watching.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop.